Welcome to Bad Food Blog, and here we have beef stew. So let's quickly go through the ingredients I'm going to be using to make this. We have diced lean beef, 2 beef stock cubes and 1 vegetable stock cube, 3 potatoes. There will also be 2 onions. These are small onions, so it'll be 2. 2 parsnips, although we do have 3 here. 2 carrots. These are very large carrots. There's only going to be 2 of them used. Obviously all of the mushrooms. And then some red wine. Also, there'll be some flour and some suet for some dumplings. First thing to do is very simple. I'm going to cook these quickly, fry them in olive oil, and I'm going to add the diced beef and brown. And let's get on with that. I have to obviously, whilst I chop these up, next job is to cut up these vegetables and cut up the mushrooms whilst, first of all, these are browning and this is, these are softening. I don't want them browned, I want them a little caramelized, and then these are browning. So it's kind of a balance thing, but I'm doing it in a very large pan over by the cooker. Let's go and have a look. Chopping things is one of my favourite parts of cooking, but chopping onions is particularly fun. This is a very sharp knife. You should always cut away from your hands. And peeling an onion's outside is just about getting enough layers for it to come off in almost one go. Hands are covered in paint still from yesterday. I have tried scrubbing with bristles and brush and it doesn't all come off. This doesn't have to be super fine. I'm not really showing you what I'm doing, am I? Look. Probably better if the camera's over here. This is how I cut onions. Helps to have a very sharp knife. Well, and that's why you should, look at that, almost went through my nail. Oh dear. That's why you should always do it like that. Now, do as I say, not as I do. Let's go get this in the oil. So, I've only just turned the pan on. I'm using my olive oil. And I don't really need to be stingy with it. I've got mushrooms to cook. I've got onions to cook. It's a couple of tablespoons, not teaspoons, tablespoons for this meal. This meal is going to be a lot. It's going to have like almost a litre of liquid in it at some point. There we go. That's 1 onion. While that is softening, I'm going to go and chop off another one. As I said, this meal is kind of, you do a little bit whilst the other bit's cooking. So I'm going to go chop up the other onion and then come back and add that as well. By that point, that should be sizzling away. I've not got it on the highest setting, I've got it on 1 lower. As you can see, things are bubbling away. Second chopped onion is added and it's time to start what is going to be many hours of stirring. And I only want to soften the onions. I don't want to brown them. I want to caramelize them a little bit, but I don't want to boil them. So I turn that down to half heat. As you can see, the onions are starting to go brown. They're softened nicely. There's a bit of caramelization going on here, but that's going to continue as we add the beef. Well, see, I am trying my hardest. Ah, I've broken the seal. Ah, I managed it. Honestly, my hands are not weak. Just almost always when I open... Whoa, I didn't drop the paper and I would have had to fish that out. Right. Now, one other thing that's going on when the beef goes in is my seasoning goes in on the beef. Because I want the beef cooking, but I want it cooking with a good amount of salt and pepper on it. Oh, it smells so wonderful. That beef is just starting to sear a bit. There's a bit more oil on it so none of it hits the bottom of the pan dry, because the onions have soaked up a lot of the oil. And a good amount of salt, not too much. Let's give this a stir. I want to mix them all together. The beef is sealing. At this point, temperature needs to go right up, all the way back up to 6. I want the beef to sear. I do not want it to start boiling in its own juices at this point. The temperature's gone right back up, heat's on full. I'm just going to let that seal on one side and mix it in a few more times. Now, as you can see, I've reached that point where the beef is cooking. What I mean is it's now mostly sealed on the outside. There's a little bit of pink showing still here and now. This is the point where our wonderful stock cubes have been combined with water. So that's 2 OXO cubes and one other stock cube. And I'm just going to pop them in. This seals this, stops it going any further, stops it. There we go. Ah. Oops. They didn't dissolve properly. I tried to mix them in, but I obviously couldn't. It was such a rich stock, I couldn't actually see what was going on. And that's not quite enough water. See, 1 pint for this amount of beef isn't really enough, as you can see. But we got a few other things to add at this point. In go our turnips. And our 3 potatoes. And as you can see, I'm going to need about another ½ litre / pint of boiling water. What I'm going to do first is let that get nice and steamy hot while I go and cut up the carrots. So here we are. It's been bubbling away now for 5 to 10 minutes on its own, and it's settled down a bit. The extra ½ pint has gone in. The liquid level is looking good. Now it's time to overstock it again. Carrots. Only one of the carrots. My assistant objected completely to the amount of carrots. And see, it looks like I'm going to be overfilling it because of the amount of mushrooms that are going in. But the mushrooms are going to shrink down to nothing and the carrots are going to vanish into the stew. So kind of have to get used to that idea. Yeah. Now I can just leave those on top to sort themselves out. And there's one more thing that gets added at this point, and that is a little dash of red wine. This is up to you. I personally think it makes the whole flavour better. It's supposed to be about half a glass-ish, which millilitres terms is 100 millilitres is about right. About 150, yeah, I think 6, yeah, about 100 millilitres is about right. That just goes in and that gives it that extra special smell. Don't worry if you don't drink alcohol, you're putting alcohol in as an ingredient. It's a bit like using vinegar, which has some sort of level of alcohol in it as well. The alcohol will boil off at 60 degrees centigrade, completely dispersing, but you do you. And that now will have a nice rich and creamy and beefy taste to it. Something which I forgot to mention is just put a load of garlic granules and some smoked paprika in there as well. It darkens the colour a little bit and just adds a bit more herb to it. I also added another 100 millilitres of red wine because I looked at the size of this and realised it's 1.5 pints. It needed a bit more red wine. I've done a bit of tasting and it's about balanced now. So, since we last talked, this had 1.5 hours cooking. It's had a little two tablespoons of flour added to thicken it up a little bit. Don't want it thick, just wanted it a little bit more opaque. And it's had a dash of Leon sauce. Nothing else has happened to it. But with the 1.5 hours cooking, the meat is starting to crumble apart, starting to get really soft. The dumplings are really easy. Extremely easy. So we have the beef suet, which is a type of fat essentially. And what we need of this is about 100 grams. There we go. That goes back in the cupboard. Then, need about 100 grams of flour. A dash of oil. And then an unspecified amount of fluid. Little bit of water. A spoon. Ooh, they're getting there. Bit too much water, so a little bit more flour, but we're just about the right consistency almost. Oh, that's it, that's perfect. We are there. Now, what I need to do with these is take this lovely mixture, pulse it together a little bit, just knead it together, that's it. Maybe put a bit too much water in, but it's gonna be alright. Yeah, we got like a consistency of dough going on now. I need a bit of flour for my hands here. And a bit more to go on the outside of them. Then what I'm going to do is just break them up into balls. This is like the easiest thing in the world to make. You can see these. There's going to be about 6 of them, or 7. Probably 7 looking at it. Oh, maybe actually 8. Yep, there's going to be 8. Right. Make sure they're all rolled in a little bit of flour so they don't stick together in there. And let's go at them. These dumplings are going to cook in the stew. They're going to take about 20 minutes. I'm going to turn the temperature up because they're going to reduce the temperature, so it's back up to 2 out of 6. I'm going to drop them in. There we go. Place the lid back on. Gonna just roll them around a bit. Get them a bit wet first. Don't want the tops being out. A little bit of starch will come off them and thicken the stew a bit more. But what's more importantly, in the next 20 minutes, they will cook in there and we'll have wonderful, lovely dumplings, which we'll return for. Ta-da! And here's what we have. They're ready. Can you see the dumplings? They're floating. They've expanded. Look, they're more than twice. They're about twice their original volume, which tells me they're cooked. They're floating. They were floating anyway. And they've made the stew a lighter color. Everything appears to be ready. I'm going to give it a good stir, and then it's time to serve it up. I think it looks amazing. Oh, wow. Give it a good stir. Ooh, look at that. Oh, it smells amazing. Right, let's get it served up. Here we go, and here is the stew. Let me just get a ladle. There we are, a ladle. Let's do the Max's portion first. 2 dumplings and a lot of lovely vegetables. The dumplings should float themselves to the top, I think. There we go. And then my assistant's portion with 3 dumplings. There we are. And my one also with 3 dumplings. And there we go. Everybody's got a portion, and there's about 1.5, maybe 2 small portions left. There's yours.
Spoon.
Yeah, can you grab me a spoon as well, please?
Let me guess, everybody wants spoons.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to try it quickly and let them know what it tastes like. Let's give it a quick try. Oh, it's really yummy. You can taste all the vegetables, you can taste the beef, you can taste the red wine. And it's amazing. Let's try a little bit of the dumpling. Let me show you what it looks like. So that's what the dumpling looks like. It's all fluffy and light inside. Lovely. Absolutely light and fluffy and amazing. Quite stodgy though, but that's what you want from a dumpling. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, rate and hit that subscribe button.